Some Seminole Indian clothing. Here's a canoe, the dugout canoe from around 500 AD.
Would likely have had close affiliation with the inhabitants of the Tampa Bay region, including the Calusa, Tocobaga.
Here's a painting or picture depicting the Seminole Wars. There's a fort in the background. And these are the relics from that war. Or I should say wars. It lasted a number of years. Wish that glare wasn't on there. There's the uniform from the South Florida Military Educational Institute. Now, we're looking at some Civil War weapons around the 1860s. This one right here is called a solid shot from the 1860s. It was a pistol that the Confederates would use, I believe. These binoculars have CSA on them, so that's Confederate States of America. For those that aren't familiar with Civil War. And I believe here you're looking at what's called a Star revolver. If I'm not mistaken, it was used by both Union and Confederate troops. Here's what's called a Savage Navy revolver, used by cavalry, infantry, and Navy during the Civil War. And here we're looking at a picture from 1910, and these are Confederates still alive from the Civil War, standing in front of the building that I am currently in. Here's a letter from the Confederate States of America War Department during the Civil War, awarding the rank of Brigadier General. To somebody, and I just can't make up the name. And here's some more various pieces of equipment. Looks like from around the Civil War time. There's a canteen used for the Spanish-American War. I think these are powder horns. Nautical spyglass. Yeah, powder horn made for the British military. Interesting. Here's a Star revolver used by 12% of the Union cavalry troops. The fife and drum. Seven-shot wonder repeat rifle. I got to get one more shot of this hat. That was just amazing. Used during the Seminole Wars. And I've done a lot of videos where I've at least mentioned the Seminole Wars because there's so many in this area. It's everywhere I look. Seminole Wars, 1816 to 1858. Wow, I didn't know it was that long. Here's an old fort. Looks like a house to me. In Fort Meade, not too far away from here. The Seminole Indian Wars were 3 military conflicts in Florida between the United States Army and the Seminole Indian tribe. The battles occurred between 1816 and 1858, with 2 periods of uneasy truce between active conflicts. The longest and most expensive of the Indian Wars in U.S. history. Which explains how some of that happened over here, because the war was pushed south from North Florida over to this area where I'm at. I'm in Central Florida, but south of where the war started. And I know it went further south than here. In December of 1855, the Third Seminole War began. Women and children sought refuge in reactivated forts, while the men formed volunteer militias to help the U.S. Army fight the Indians. In Fort Meade, a group of soldiers engaged the Seminoles in the battle at Willoughby Tillis Farm, June 14 to June 16, 1856, the largest battle of the Third Seminole War. Here's the pistol from 1859, but it was actually used in World War I. This soldier, I believe, died in World War I, and this was his pistol. Knowles Giddings Oglesby died in 1918. And here we are looking at some more military outfits and equipment used for World War I. So we got some German soldiers' equipment here. And that's a German gun. German helmet, I believe. Highly decorative. So World War I was the first time that the U.S. military had helmets. This was called the Mark I Doughboy helmet, and it was a replica or a copy of the British MK helmet. Sorry about the glare. And now we're looking at some artifacts from World War II. A German helmet there. I believe this is a German World War I helmet, if I'm not mistaken. Slightly different than World War II. Almost the same style, but the German soldier helmet in World War II had a slightly different design. I believe this is World War I. Purple Heart. Aviator equipment. Probably worn by a bomber. These were made of leather. Then you got these gas masks, which were typically used in World War I in the trenches. Trench warfare. Used a lot of mustard gas during that war, if I recall. This is interesting. 2 pesos, Philippines. Hmm. It's like Walt Disney had made this for this artillery battalion in 1940. So it looks like it was painted and presented by Walt Disney to the 116th Field Artillery at Camp Bowie, Texas in 1942. Hmm. My dad was 10 years old when he was living in the Netherlands, and Germans invaded. And he saw a lot of the soldiers. They were at his schools, and they were everywhere. And here's a soldier's uniform from the Vietnam War. I believe that's an M16 rifle, if I'm not mistaken. The War on Terror. Rear Admiral A.J. Jackson. So here we are looking at the 10th Judicial Circuit 1908 Historic Courtroom. And this is where it was actually located. It's been fully preserved. So this is what you would have seen in the early 20th century. So the renovation was going on all summer long, finally completed into July. And so this place is on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of Interior. Polk County History Center. Come inside the historic 1908 Polk County Courthouse to explore the countywide historical museum and genealogical library.